teacher go to school? And who's your dad?
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason morons.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink guy? Is this what pink guy is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
All right, listeners, welcome to the Conditional program. I am your host, Joel Hill. Jack the Insider is not with us. We've replaced him with a cooker watcher, Supreme Dave, who is going to step us through some very interesting cooker things that no one else really knows about because he actually went there, which to me may be foolish because how have they not made you yet? I don't know. I mean, you sticking your neck out. But in the meantime, I implore all of you to make sure you get some CBCO for election night because if you don't, you will have a terrible, tasteless night that sucks. The IPA is, of course, their best beer, but if you get their pale ale, you can join some weird competition to get on a boat. There's a guy with grey hair involved. I don't know. I'm looking at the website. It's 4 nights all-inclusive, and it'll be a nice way to celebrate the election win. It's $119,000 worth. I don't know how the fuck you spend $119,000 worth of money in 4 nights, but CBCO have an idea and bless their hearts. I don't think I'm allowed to enter, but if I could, I would. Now, the other piece of pressing news, pressing things to say is please, if you are in Victoria, vote for Fiona Patton in the Senate. Now, give Purple Ping as your second. That's good. And you can go and do all sorts of wing nuts and shit, but give Fiona your first because she actually has a chance of winning this. Purple Pingers may not have a chance of winning this. Now, I love the idea of him getting in and just absolutely tearing the fucking Senate apart. And if you give him your second preference and he still has a chance, he still has a chance. But Fiona Patton has a legitimately good chance of getting up, and she is a actual force for good. So if you please just vote, I can't. The New South Wales Senate ticket is shit. Gonna vote for Maureen Faruqi. Fuck, yay. Thanks, guys. Anyway, and now moving right along, I have a Tinfoil Tales follow-up here, which is on the Pope. So if you haven't heard the Tinfoil Tales episode, sucked in because this won't mean as much to you. They were saying that cookers were suggesting that the King of England was going to be the next Pope, which is funny for reasons you would have to listen to Tinfoil Tales for because I'm not going to tell you because I actually didn't really think about that. But I think I've got a better suggestion here. This is from Lindsey Graham. He's a senator from South Carolina, and I would say a former vaguely serious person.
I was excited to hear that President Trump is open to the idea of being the next Pope. This would be a truly dark horse candidate, but I would ask the papal conclave and the Catholic faithful to keep an open mind about this possibility. The first Pope US President combination has many upsides. Watching for white smoke. Trump. MMXXV. I.
Jesus. So anyway, I thought that was fake when I first saw it, but no, that's real.
Incredible.
I double-checked on Twitter before we did this. It's just completely fucking insane. And he hasn't deleted it. I would have thought he'd delete it. But no. He's really standing by that. That's insane. Anyway, so I don't think King Charles or Trump are going to be the next Pope, but we'll see how we go. The other thing is, of course, that Trump famously wore the blue suit in some sort of weird move of teenage fashion rebellion that I don't understand. And I just want to remind everyone that the Republicans shit their pants because Obama wore a tan suit instead of a black one. And that was a thing for about a year. So everything's changed. Nothing stays the same. And I don't really know what to do with that. How are you feeling about this whole Pope death situation?
It happened quickly.
Yeah, sort of. There was a bit of illness going on. There was a bit of I told you I was sick.
Yeah, it was. And then it happened.
I'm sure because and the TT girls were sort of explaining this, how he's put a bunch of cardinals in place and basically the next pope will very likely be a progressive force, which I'm sure is going to be very funny. And we're going to see people like JD Vance make their mascara run when they realize that the next pope doesn't want all the gays to go to hell. What a shame. Oh, well. Now, we need to go on to things that are more domestic and more cooked. which is some of your clandestine behaviour. What have you been up to?
Well, I went and saw another Christian
Oh, nice.
in Cessnock on his 8th visit. Joel Jamal came up
Eyebrows.
again. Mr. Eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if all 8 visits were to this town or he's talking the hunter in general, but he, you know, as the far right go, they see it, or they obviously saw it as a place to get a council elected, which they ticked
That seems
off.
to have worked. Yep.
And they also think it's their best chance of winning a lower house seat,
Yeah, okay.
which we'll talk about a bit later.
Yes, we will.
But yeah, so the main purpose was to debrief us on, being the local freedom group, which doesn't have a name, by the way, probably because they interchange between being one nation and not being one nation, depending on what they're doing. But yeah, debrief us on his trip to CPAC and to hear from any local candidates who were prepared to show up. And in this case, because it was a cooker meeting, there were only 2. And that was Stuart Bonds, the well-known One Nation candidate for the Hunter, and Jennifer Stefanak, who is Trumpet of Patriots Newcastle. Now, if you go back about 8 years, so even before COVID, Jennifer was famous for winning NCAT tribunal hearing about being dismissed from child services for saying that the earth was flat and just got to get this one right. I think it was that angels are aliens are fallen angels.
Okay, so it's like the Pleiadian sort of bullshit.
Yeah. And she's been, a constant in the freedom movement ever since.
She got a payout in 2018.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And that was a $20,000 payout.
It was.
Gee, she's done all right. And that was from the employer. She
did all right, and she kept going. So there was a bit of involvement in the Makada camp down at Old Parliament House.
Yeah.
And she's local to these parts, so a lot of stuff against The Voice and the normal cooked talking points with Jennifer. But she showed up. Funnily enough, they didn't let her speak because she was out of her electorate, even though she was only one of 2 that turned up. So we really
didn't let her speak.
Yeah, she just
How
got to
baked.
wave and say she was there.
That's very funny. Isn't that like, I love it when you're in that situation where you see these sort of cooker types who try to sort of, pander to this base. She seems like she's legit, but, like libertarian types who sort of pander and try and do this thing. And then when they sort of get there, they'll find that there's just a complete circus, or that they're actually not in a good position because they'll say, oh, no, you get to speak for 1 minute because you're the establishment or some shit. Like, you just can't, you can never get what you want from these people unless you are prepared to bicker and fight for those scraps. It's such an unpleasant dynamic.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just miserable.
And once again, the night was hosted by a mysterious character who I'd certainly seen her around at various events, but wasn't sure of her significance until Jamal plonked her on the ARC podcast just before the council election, saying that she was the, quote, brains behind the Wollombi Road campaign, which was, I have mentioned, I won't get right into it because it's basically a road widening project that...
It's a very local issue.
It's a very local issue that cookers used to appear like they were talking about something a bit more saner than smart cities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Joel Jamal's jumped all over this. I've seen on his socials, going on about how like the council's not listening and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, as if you give a fuck about a road, eyebrows. There's something else going on here.
That's right. That the longest-serving councillor from the Freedom Group had actually voted for over a decade ago, and didn't mention that until it was pointed out to him.
No, of course not. No,
Developer
but there's always an
contributions.
excuse.
Yeah, all the developer contributions are already paid. It's going ahead.
Yeah.
But so she was credited with basically moving this group of people from way out there, freedom fighters and conspiracy theorists, to a legitimate political challenger, and ultimately a successful one. They'd still lose every vote 6-7, but yeah, they got mayor and believed they were the winners, essentially. So Joel came bearing gifts.
Oh, that's nice.
He wandered in with a beer and 6 huge rolled-up maps that were gifts for the 6 cooker councillors in Cessnock.
Oh, nice.
And not for any other councillor, just his councillors.
Just his ones, yeah.
And they had the beautiful overlay of where the highest ALP votes per booth intersected with the highest No to the Voice votes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Just charming stuff. Just so fucking tasteless.
Just to show everyone where they believe they can pick off numbers.
Yeah, where there's vulnerability, where they can smell the racism in the water. Yeah.
And you can buy it from Joel. The councillor's got it for free, but he said give him an email if...
Oh, yeah. Everything's for sale these days.
Not sure what other maps he's got.
I'm not going to say anything about Tasmania there. Yeah, look, and one of the things I want to say about Stefanac is like, there's a couple of things here, which is that because it's 2018, that's pre-COVID, which I find fascinating, but also the fact that she actually got a payout when she is really, really, like the stuff that came up in NCAT, I really want to read this judgment because I have no idea what they were thinking when, like, you sort of can't have someone this nice. Apparently, during the tribunal hearing, she provided NCAT with a copy of extracts from a website about the Book of Genesis, Chapter 6, and from a website about CERN, which is the Hadron.
The Hadron, yeah.
And she also denied that she said the Hadron Collider was in Scandinavia. So she doesn't really know where it is, but that's fine. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just, this is really quite cooked. And yeah, okay, like they didn't have any, like, necessary proof of mental illness. That's fine. But you can't have someone like that around in a situation where they're of influence and
on children.
Consequence. Yeah, like this person needs to stack shelves or something and not talk to anyone. My God. Oh, like, yeah, you can't have kids being told that this sort of shit. It's insane. They're worried about drag queens and they've got an insane person indoctrinating them with completely cooked sci-fi conspiracy theories as if they're real. Maybe if they're young enough, it doesn't matter, but this just completely baked. Anyway, so Joel Jamal seems to be doing his turning point thing quite effectively. He seems to be making a living out of it. I don't know how many people like to listen to his podcast or give a fuck about him, but someone's paying his bills.
Someone's paying his bills. It was interesting during CPAC Washington because he posted from there while Trump was speaking, and we all saw him there in the third row.
Yeah.
Now, he said he won that trip.
He won it?
He won it in a videographer pitching contest at CPAC Australia last year.
Okay.
There were 6 places available. It was called the Shark Bites Pitching Contest. And you can actually, if you've got if you're silly enough to pay Sky money and subscribe, it's behind a paywall on Sky, the pitching competition. I saw one of the candidates who put it on her LinkedIn, but he and 5 others including there's a Libertarian candidate up near the Whitsundays, Luke Lachlan Lade, who just did a campaign ad where he has a shotty out in his paddock and he blasts the hell out of signs saying,
Oh, that's right. That was
road
very
tax,
cringe.
beer tax, cigarette tax. In some cases, barely hitting them.
Yeah. With the shotgun of all things. Come on,
Yeah.
mate. Do better. That's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
So videos like that were what impressed the CPAC judges, I guess.
Jeez. Well, to give
But
an idea of to give an idea of the ARC's listenership, if you're not in the top 10% of podcasts in the world, you don't get a rating. We're in the top 1.5%, and we don't have that many listeners. We really don't. So he has, like, he's getting paid, but he's not making money. He's just getting paid. Someone's fucking got to be paying him, because he's not. That's not how you make money. We make fuck all money, and we are infinitely higher ranked than he is.
The impression I got from this competition was that if you were selected to go to CPAC Washington, you were kind of expected to produce content and be someone when you came
Free labor,
back.
basically. Yeah.
So the pictures of all the winners are in a group photo there. I'm just yet to sort of have a proper go through them and see who else made the cut. But what was interesting, they got a communication seminar with Steve Bannon for that ticket.
Yeah, wow. That'd be interesting. It'd be either really interesting or really awful, because either he would tell you things that are fascinating and dangerous, or he'd be like, "Oh, you're the kids, huh? What do you do? All right, cool." And you're like, "Oh, that was just a sort of weird drunk man with psoriasis sort of rambling at us."
Yeah.
I think it'd be the former. I think it'd be fascinating, and I think he'd take them under the wing very hard. He seems very good at capturing the kids' imagination and sort of indoctrinating them into the weird sort of, flood the zone with shit sort of tactics. But there is every possibility he just sort of would just be like, "Yeah, I have to be here for half an hour. This fucking sucks."
Yeah, it's hard to tell what went on in there. But it does bring into question the role of Christine Stevens in our local LGA and how she got here, because, I watched the Wallumbye Road campaign as closely as you want to watch something as boring as that, but she never stuck out as an organizer or the brains behind it, unless you saw their rallies where she had a bit of a sort of mustering role there. But here she is getting credited with the campaign that essentially tipped council here. And during this night with Joel Jamal at the bowling club, she was referred to by Stuart Bonds as boss.
Oh.
And it turns out she's now campaign manager for Stuart Bond's One Nation campaign in the Hunter, and also the candidate for DeBell, and perhaps others in the area as well.
Interesting. Money?
I think she's definitely. There's a very good chance she was sort of shift. And I think every area probably has one or two people like that.
Yeah. We're
about to talk about another one on the Central Coast where, it's very hard to establish the links if you don't know the finances or can't see any, specific contracts or whatever. But there's definitely consistency with what they're trying to do, what they're being credited with, and it's all very singing the same tune to what the sort of peak groups at the far right are trying to achieve.
Yeah. It's a mess, and it's not their election, but I can see they're playing the long game when it comes to. We'll talk about sort of Stuart Bonds later, but despite the general sort of hysteria around it, I don't think he's got a hope in hell.
No, it doesn't seem that way. He's talking it
Sportsbet
up.
got him at $10.
Yeah, down from 14 and 16 before that. But
Yeah,
still
that
not
doesn't
enough to.
inspire much hope. I
Nah.
mean, and the coalition are at $6.50 as well. I mean, like, you know, the Liberals aren't doing. Is it Nat up there?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it
Nat.
becomes a national seat, you know, once you get out the edge of Newcastle.
Well, Lovely Dan is on $1.15, so that's a Labor retain for me any day of the week. I would not be putting money on that.
Yeah, I think they're definitely waiting for the political cycle to go another way.
Yeah,
And
if this was it was a different campaign, it might be different. But the Liberals are so hard on the nose. The Nationals, you know, they're obviously tied to the same boat, although of course quite different. And One Nation, they're not like he did get something like 20-something% of the primary vote, in the last election, which is pretty insane. But
that was 2019, and then he
Was
left
2019?
One Nation. But the
Oh,
far
yeah, that's
right
right. Wait a
vote,
minute, yeah.
far right vote stayed around 21%, even though it was split four ways. So it's
Yeah.
been a consistent thing that, you know, rarely is the same in all the areas that produce energy. Latrobe, Hunter, Rockies, that sort of economic uncertainty brings about, you know, an attraction to someone who's going to tell them we're going to mine forever.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, like Dan's doing a great job of replacing mining jobs with good renewable jobs and stuff like that. It's pretty impressive what he's managing to do in the area, which is good. And he's not against coal mining. He's just not. So, fucking whatever.
That's right. Like Bonds sort of bangs the table and says, I want to start a conversation about coal mining in the Hunter Valley. Well, it's actually been going on for 30 years, mate. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say you could join the conversation, fuckwit, but you're not starting it.
He hasn't contributed one positive thing, really, except to, you know, perhaps speak the anger of a handful of people who don't accept it.
Yeah, well, not only is it the whole thing of not accepting climate change, but also not understanding things. Like, I found it very frustrating on Facebook. Whether these are authentic accounts or not, I'm not sure, but I think they might be because I tend to have a look and they tend to be fairly legit. And they're like, you know, like sort of things like the Labor telehealth plan to make 1-800 Medicare. And they'll say, oh, this is shit. And I'm like, what do you mean it's shit? Like, if you need a prescription and you don't want to go and spend money getting to a doctor or, God forbid, spending money on the things that's not bulk billed, you just call up and you get like a script SMS to you. It's like, yeah, but I like going to the doctor. It's like, well, then go to the fucking doctor then. But like, it might cost you $30. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, this is just a big, it's just making the debt worse. It's like, how is this making, oh my God, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you real? Like, you just want to be upset with anything that Albo does. Making a telehealth service attached to Medicare, which isn't like one of those private providers like 136 where they turn up to your house like Pizza Hut. That's a good thing. It just is. And like, the idea of opposing it just seems kind of ludicrous. But the fucking gymnastics I've seen from just weird maladjusted types who will just say anything to shit on the Albanese government has been bizarre. Mate, guess what? 1-800 Medicare is good for you and everyone else. That's okay. You're allowed to enjoy that. You can hate him for all sorts of fucking dumb reasons. But don't hate him for that one. It's objectively a good idea and you're objectively stupid. Fucking pointless. So like when it comes to any of this sort of stuff, like it's so difficult to think that you can try and convince someone of something logical when it's right in front of them and they will just fight you to the point of gibberish not to accept it. Torture. Just torture. But yeah, when it comes to the future of seats like that, I don't know. The future of democracy, I mean, itself is in question to me. But that's just because I lost $8,000 in that stupid American election.
It's true. Although this election, even though it isn't going to be the one that brings about that fully Trumpist style of triumphalism and perhaps winning in a winning one, you can definitely see the blueprint for 28 or earlier and beyond.
Sure,
And
but
I
it's
get-
like very funny. Like Chris Lasavita has come out and said that he came here a few weeks ago to give Dutton
Yeah.
help with his campaign, and he's just like, good. Because the Chris Lasavita is the Trump campaign advisor,
Yeah.
and he's just come down here and he's just gone, here, do this. It worked for us.
No.
Did you not see what's happening in Canada? Did you not see how the far right around the world is on the nose because of your shit candidate? Unless he came down here and said, don't do what we did. For the love of God, do the exact opposite. It worked for us, but it will not work for you. Any advice he gave was shit. And
Yeah,
of course, you can see that
the only way they can take advantage of that is if an ALP government was so on the nose that defeat was inevitable.
Yeah, but I mean, even the mainstream media, who are usually all over the idea of shitting on any kind of like incumbent, especially a progressive one, they can't even rally behind Dutton. He almost won't let them.
No.
You know, if they say something nice about him, he'll do something to contradict it the next day to make them look stupid. So you can't even help this guy. It's great, to be honest. I'm fucking loving it. Ah, dear. Well, we've got more cooked candidates. Where else have you been and what else have you been up to?
I went down to Gosford to see the launch of the Lisa Bellamy Independent campaign, which was a follow-on from a basically MyPlace environmentalist council ticket called Coasties Who Care that I talked about a bit last time because, again, there was a bit of a shadowy figure behind it all.
Yes, that's interesting. We like shadowy figures. That's what we're here for. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're definitely conspiracy theorists. And we like a shadowy figure.
Yeah, well, this one, Kate Mason, she's done the anti-renewable circuit and sort of IPA advance events in Canberra and Sydney and Adelaide. And she launched Lisa Bellamy's campaign, even though it was an environmental campaign. It's essentially, they can barely bring themselves to mention the word climate change.
No. They don't believe in it, that's why.
They campaign to protect little areas of bushland that are being developed primarily by the Aboriginal Land Council, which appears to be the only time they care about this is not when it's Meriton or A.V. Jennings proposing the tree clearing, it's the Land Council.
Wow, okay, that's interesting.
So, I mean, I've talked about this a bit before, but essentially it was, you know, a gig at the local pub in Gosford, and you looked up on stage and there was Jake Cassar playing tunes and talking about prepping. Lisa Bellamy, who, according to the MyPlace chat, is a MyPlace coordinator in the Council and Community Action Department, which doesn't place her extremely well. We found footage of her with Kate Mason at the convoy singing We Are Australian with all the ensigns. And then Mason herself and another woman, Vicky Burke, who is the MyPlace food and water security organizer.
Okay.
That's one of their, I think they go to a farm and pick vegetables. And
Well, that's nice.
And Vicky's travelled the stars. She was, if you might remember an episode of Insight where she said she was waiting for the chosen ones to take off to another planet.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a normal environment group. Again, they're not going to go anywhere. Lisa says you can send your preferences to whoever you like, which is true, but there's suggestions on their environmental group page that an increased One Nation vote would benefit them. Not sure how that works.
Yeah, it should be lucky to get 4%.
Yeah, which is,
Pointless.
I think it was 3,000 votes she got in the state electorate down there. So
That's not bad.
not. Yeah, I mean, if you're the
I mean,
local
yeah.
Greens, for example, you're not going to be happy about that.
No, you'd be miserable about that. But if you're the local random person who is pointlessly running for absolutely no good reason, then yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I think that's sort of what Kate Mason's purpose is. She, she got on a video with someone she said was a coal seam gas campaigner who really only said he'd been to one protest and written a book that 3 people had bought.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she wanted to reshape the environment movement into her vision, which is one that insists that climate change is a conspiracy to take away your home, make it
good.
uninsurable, and have you all locked down in 15-minute cities. She's also very big on, and make you eat stop you eating meat, basically.
Yeah, you're going to be eating bugs and whatnot and
Yeah.
artificial nonsense and things made in labs and blah, blah. Yeah, well, I mean, look, Kate Mason for IMOP got 1,114 votes, which is 1.16% of the total. So, I mean, if she beats that, that's good.
She shapeshifted completely in the time I've sort of kept an eye on her. In 3 years, it was, I mean, the first year leading into the 22 election was all vaccines and running for IMOP.
Yep.
But as soon as that was over, she collapsed one group she'd formed and made another that went through a few issues, but it was mainly targeting or promoting a no vote for The Voice, getting the fake tribe that's been connected with all of this up to speak to that. And as soon as that was done, she collapsed that group. Now seems to be working on the artificial food thing and promoting Bellamy as a candidate.
What fun. Yeah. How pointless.
But they think she's a genius on Telegram. She's got quite a following there.
Oh, really? Oh, I should follow her on my little,
it's interesting, yeah. When you read her stuff, it's gobbledygook. It's not as dumb as some of the Cooker stuff you read, but it's literally, she's found, she's gone deep into government documents and various theses or papers and pulled out some, very clever sounding paragraph and just inserted it where it looks good. And when you put the whole thing together, or listen to her speak, you suddenly realise you are actually lost because she's not making sense.
Yeah, okay. It's like, that's one of those things where it's like, is it just me or are you fucked in the head? And after a while you go, hold on. No, it is you. It's definitely you. Yeah, good. Okay, cool. Glad we had that, established it. Very, very frustrating. So
but
yeah.
they had a rally after that because their iconic area, which Darkinjung Aboriginal Land Council wishes to develop, was matched by another parcel of land that's Land Council owned, and Woolworths wants to put a shopping centre on it.
Okay.
It's a nice patch of bush. It's a wetland. I mean, you'd probably, on just the environmental merits of it, be against it.
Yep.
But again, they've focused on this because it's the Land Council. And it's, they all went down and had a rally there the other day where a woman actually said that she supports the Aboriginal community and everything, but you must love the land as much as we do. End of quote.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So
and don't they have ties to Guringai and all that?
They do, yeah. And the Guringai spoke, although they now seem not to be using the name Guringai and have split off into a semantic option where they say we're Darkanung, not Darkinjung. using a
Okay.
double, which is just ridiculous,
Cool.
and seem to have reinvented the geography of where they're from a bit.
Yeah, okay. So they're just trying to basically move the goalpost by the sounds of things.
Yeah, and no one's buying it. I think in the time I last spoke about it here and on Tinfoil Tales, they're no longer doing Welcome to Country in the NRL, and
Wasn't that just Melbourne Storm, or is that the entire NRL?
oh no, this is in Indigenous round, so it's
Okay.
a thing. Yeah, which they,
Yeah, wow.
we were a bit horrified last year to see them out on national TV at Manly versus Melbourne.
Yeah, fucking hell.
And
You mean they're not doing Welcome to Country anymore? Okay, yeah, that's good, because that's insane.
Yeah, no,
They're not actual mob.
the collapse of the Storm's Welcome to Country was a capitulation to...
I think it was more the fact that it was a capitulation to their own desires, because the guy is a fucking Advance Australia operative.
That's right.
The guy who owns it. So he created a problem and then solved his own problem with that problem he created. Yeah. So, like, with Lisa Bellamy's sort of crew, you've got this sort of weird sort of green guy sort of connection, but you've also got this Jake Cassar fella.
Yeah, and it's a constant drone of whinge from him.
Yeah, okay.
He's the only environmentalist who's ever done anything for the Central Coast environment, even though the national parks that were created and fought for there were done decades before he turned up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but he's not a complete fake environmentalist.
No, but he's got his own style. Really, in terms of what is the best way to protect natural landscape that's remaining, is you reserve it.
Yeah.
And you never once hear Jake put forward a vision or anything with clarity for what he wants. All it is stop the land council and you've saved the bush, which is just rubbish.
Yeah, okay. So he knows what he's doing, but he's also got an agenda.
Yeah, and big attacks on, just constant attacks on Labor and the Greens.
Yeah, okay.
And a constant right-wing presence at these events. You've also got to look at what he does, which is, remember when, I forget her name, the woman who went missing in Ballarat last year, Jake was suddenly on a plane and being flown down with Channel 7 coverage to go and use his tracking skills to find her. And really, excuse me, really it's very hard to find any case of Jake Cassar using his tracking skills and finding anything.
No. Look, maybe next time.
They found a dog.
Oh,
but there were 20 SES and emergency workers with Jake when they found the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and saw him speak last year at a festival on the Central Coast. He was meant to be speaking about native flora conservation, native flora and fauna conservation, and spent the whole time talking about his encounter with a yowie at, of all places, why a Woy garbage dump, which is...
That's very good.
Just, yeah.
It's very funny indeed.
So, yeah, it's about time he really put his money where his mouth is, instead of this strange game where all these people seem to have a different group, and yet none of them are like in a normal environment group, in that they're not incorporated. They don't have financial accountability. It's all on Facebook. The tone of the conversation in the Coast Environmental Alliance's Facebook page is overwhelmingly anti-immigration, anti-Aboriginal institutions, and for some reason always supporting the side of politics that doesn't want to improve the situation, shall we say. So, yeah, it's an odd setup, and I don't think, again, I don't think it's accidental.
Yeah, that checks out. Yeah, so basically, when it comes down to it, this is a group of people with very confused, cooked brains who spend a lot of environmental capital just opposing things from the Aboriginal Land Council.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
maybe perhaps prior to COVID, they had a more innocent track record, but
Yeah, okay.
as soon as things got cooked and the movement took off, the rhetoric underlines almost everything they do.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I guess we need to move on to things more legal for now. As most of us have probably heard, Monica is planning a private criminal prosecution of Dan Andrews, which proves to be very funny. It's an incredibly stupid idea, and we're going to flesh out why. I'm even going to steal someone else's words for that. So, like, to sort of start the tone of this situation, on the website, there's a big splash image at the top with a quote. It says, "The wait is over. Righteous justice begins now." You're never going to guess who said that.
Monica.
It's Monica. Yeah, she's quoting herself. That's how we start. We're kicking off strong. This is good. Topher Field's involved somehow. There's a video with his weird demon-like teeth, sort of weird sort of smile that looks like he's seeing someone in pain and he's really enjoying it. I don't know what his role is in this. Do you know what his role is in this other than just like a cheerleader?
They're never far apart, those two, are they?
Yeah, I guess you sort of scratch each other's back. I don't know if he's going to make any money off it or not, or if he's just going to glom onto the fucking, general sense of fucking clout chasing nonsense and general attention. There's more from the website. Do you want to read this bit here?
Be part of the prosecution. We're doing this together. With your support, we will launch a private prosecution against Dan Andrews and his cabinet based on the new evidence proving they enforced lockdowns without medical advice or evidence. To date, no one has successfully pursued a criminal prosecution against Dan Andrews or members of his cabinet. This isn't about apologies. It's not about compensation. It's about accountability. Those responsible should face jail time, nothing less. The latest revelation of Document 34 is just the beginning. A public criminal trial will expose truths beyond our imagination.
It's good. It's dramatic. I like it. It's strong.
Very.
So just give a bit of clarification there. Document 34 is an email obtained through a Freedom of Information request, which was actually fought by government at VCAT and then at the Victorian Court of Appeal. I feel like that skipped a step, but anyway, that's what the news article said. And it shows that the decision to implement a curfew was in place before consulting with the Chief Health Officer, Brett Sutton. So the idea here, this sort of implication, is that the curfew is not based on health advice, but, it's like something to do with tyranny. And it was, to be fair, but that's a whole other story. That's not a basis for criminal prosecution. You haven't said, this is the crime you've committed and we're chasing you for that. They've just said, basically, okay, surely this is a crime, but also maybe there's some sort of discovery process where we can find more documents. Document 35 maybe is the one where he admits to killing a woman and then pissing on her or something. Okay, great. This is the thing, truths beyond our imagination. This is classic Monica puffery. What does that mean? That's not a legal concept, Monica. That's nonsense. So yeah, it'll just be bureaucrats talking about lockdowns. So I can't say that this is the base for the prosecution, but I can say I think it's implied. It sounds like the whole thing is that basically Dan Andrews didn't consult medical advice, made a decision which should have had medical advice, and somehow that's a criminal thing because the Crimes Act says something. So I don't know what her plan is. I don't think she has a plan. I think her plan is to raise a bunch of money, and that seems to be working. So I don't get it. Now, I would say, from my perspective, the reality is actually quite clear here. The curfew was much easier for cops to enforce, and that was that. I mean, the cops basically just went, hey, can you put in a curfew if you're going to do this lockdown shit? And Denny's went, yes, Victoria Police, I will do anything you want. I am terrified of your union and your power. And then that was fine. Like, instead of having to bother ensuring people are actually breaking the law by, if they're hanging out in groups and counting them and checking and putting out a tape measure to see that they're, within the amount of things or whatever, just basically making sure they actually did contravene the health orders before you go and slap a ticket on them. Now you can just grab any sort of black kid from anywhere you want to and just fine them. Or, do whatever you fucking did back in lockdown days, and then be on your way and have very little to fear as far as, sort of consequences things go, because that you curfew, blanket, problem solved. So I would say this is essentially just a capitulation to the cops and nothing else. And I don't see how this is a criminal offense. I just can't see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing a huge thing here. Maybe the fact that I got 52 in criminal law is really standing out now, but I can't fucking pick what this is.
From Monica's point of view, she just wants to grift and keep the word tyranny at the forefront of her supporters' minds.
She wants attention.
Yeah.
She really wants attention. This is working.
And the word tyranny will be in those people's heads forever, as will Dan Andrews. So
I'll tell you, it's that rent-free thing. But like at this point, it's not even rent-free. It's like squatting. Like he has.
And if
now
it gets
got,
thrown
like,
out,
rights.
she goes down fighting the good fight and just proves to her fans and herself that it's all tyranny.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
And
rigged. I mean, like that's got to be
again.
where it goes here. So basically, like the quote at the top of the page wasn't the only time where Monica backed herself with a delusional level of self-confidence. But I guess that's what makes Monica Monica, and that's why we kind of love her. I mean, like, there's lots of cookers we don't cover. We cover Monica all the time because she's really funny. And there's something, like Tom Taniki was saying how covering cookers was kind of pleasant because covering Nazis is really unpleasant. And a lot of people in the movement, like, Michael Grey Grove, Babbitt and things like that, you can't help but come out of, like, even laughing at them, you come out going like, oh, I feel like there's like rotten lamb between my back teeth. Whereas with Monica, you're just like, that was funny. That was funny and that was dumb. And now I'm going to go and skip home and have a lollipop and laugh about life, which is nice. It's much less sort of masculine nasty and more like idiot in a dress, which I like. I much prefer to the status quo. But look, this may be pushing it too fucking far. And like, so here is a series of dot points and reasons why she's a kick-ass fucking legal bitch, man. She's Erin Brockovich minus a law degree or any general sense of self. And she's going to take on the world if given the chance, which the chance is your money. Anyway, do you want to read this?
Why am I the right person to lead this?
You're not fucking... Anyway.
I've already stood toe-to-toe with the system and won.
Kind of.
I am relentless with unlimited energy for pursuits like this. I've proven I have the resilience and experience to lead this fight. I spent 22 days in prison for refusing to sign oppressive bail conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I appealed those conditions and won, setting a precedent so others couldn't be silenced the same way.
Not how it works.
I stood firm against demands to hand over my database, even under the threat of another 3 months in prison. I represented myself in court against 4 government lawyers over an unlawful arrest and won.
Mm-hmm.
Despite my victory, I was punished for refusing to settle in mediation. I'm currently appealing that decision.
Ooh, that's not
When I fundraised in the past for legal action that didn't proceed, I returned every cent. It cost me personally in admin fees, but I kept my word because integrity matters. I live simply on a family property. I don't have children or major distractions. I have the time, the support, and the fire to see this through. My family and my community stand behind me and I'm ready to go all the way.
I don't have children or friends. That's awful. Oh, dear. Oh, bless her heart. Do you remember when she gave money back for a legal action?
No.
I don't remember that. I mean, maybe she did. I don't know. Like, I don't want to cast aspersions and be completely wrong. But on the fly, I can't think of anything that she's raised money for and refunded.
No, there was.
No.
Yeah, something about that system she's using makes it quite hard to see who. Yeah, where
it's very opaque. So that was one of the things that we saw. So basically, she says she's raised $124,000, $605 as far as I can see. There is, of course, $123,605 left for a reason that is very funny. But this is according to the website counter, which, as friend of the podcast, Dallas checked and said on Twitter, this is just a manually adjusted widget. You just put numbers in. So we actually don't know what the total is. Like, she's maybe updating this manually from some sort of back end where she's got a mixture of her bank account and her credit card portal and whatever other ways she's receiving payments, not donations, payments. So we're taking her word for it on this counter. We don't know. And of course, the reason why that $1,000 is funny is because she paid herself $1,000, which a lot of people already know. But for those who don't, you're probably very amused and also not surprised in the fucking slightest. This is her weekly stipend for running the case, which of course, so far has no legal advice or anything except for a donations portal. But she's already on the salary. Dan's going down anytime now. And she's basically just given herself a job. Excellent. Well done. Like, it's impressive. It's entrepreneurialisms. Imagine if a French had a word for that. Like, it's just, it's wild shit. Like, when it comes to the idea that this has any kind of chance of success, any kind of sort of like general sense of like reality involved, it's so hard to imagine that about 1,000 people donated $100 each. Apparently that's the general average, around 1,000 people, around $100 each. And they look at this and they think, you know what? This has a shot. It's document 34. It's the vibe. It's health advice. It's curfews. That's got to be a crime, right? People are this stupid. They are. Like, unless that widget is lying and she actually hasn't raised $100,000 and this is all complete bluster, I reckon people are that stupid. I think they have donated to this. And that's really, really embarrassing. So, to give this in the words of someone else, we've got the Twitter user Bender, who I'd never heard of before, at SpamBotX. I'm off Twitter these days because it's full of Nazis and people like this bloke. But fuck me, this is good. He's posted a very well circulated missive now about his thoughts on Monica's planned prosecution. And since I couldn't have written it better myself, I'm going to read it. And this isn't some arts degree lefty talking here. This is a proper cooker. His Twitter feed is fucking toxic. And I mean, like, if he's not a cooker, he's at least very fucking right wing. And the post starts, Monica Smit, the despicable con woman bleeding freedom dry. Monica Smit, you're not a freedom fighter. You're a vile, money-grubbing parasite who'd sell your own kids for a headline, if you had any. I had that. Your latest Dan Andrews private prosecution scam, already sucking over $50,000 from desperate Aussies, is the most brazen con you've pulled yet. You're hawking new evidence to nail a former premier, but you're no lawyer. You're a washed-up survivor reject with a van and a PayPal link, peddling fairy tales, while Consumer Affairs Victoria is still wiping your 2024 fundraising conviction off their shoes. That's right. You were found guilty of pocketing $66,544.98 from an unregistered $247,000 legal defense crowdfunder in 2021. You're not a martyr. You're a common crook. Now, I'm going to pause for a sec there and say, I think he's talking about the thing that she said. Was that what she said she refunded? Because I guess that's what, like, what else did she do legally?
Yeah, so, back in 2021, yeah.
So the court disagrees with her claim that she refunded. It's interesting. Anyway. And now, and who's your sleazy wingman? Topher Field, that leech who's shilling your scam like a used car salesman. He's asking questions about your case. Let's not kid ourselves. Topher's sniffing for a fat cut of that $50,000 haul, fresh off his Battleground Melbourne merch grift. You two you're a disgusting duo, fleecing the same people who think you're saving Australia. What's the split, Monica? 60-40? Or does Topher get a bonus for every sob story video you churn out? You're both vultures, picking the bones of your brainwashed Telegram cult of 18,000. Let's rewind your rap sheet. Those 22 days in solitary in 2021, you didn't suffer for freedom. You orchestrated it by refusing bail to play political prisoner and milk your arrest for clout. You even bragged about it. It was great PR when you won a measly $4,000 for 2 unlawful arrests in 2024, only to get crushed with a $250,000 legal bill for rejecting a $15,000 settlement. That's not courage, Monica. That's the dumbest gamble since you thought survival would make you a star. Now you're whining about van life while begging for more donations. Cry me a river, you self-inflicted train wreck. This is a great post. I don't love this guy, but I love this post. Your journalism is a pathetic live stream hustle, screeching tyranny at cops while waving your phone like a wannabe war correspondent. Your book, Cell 22, From Party Girl to Political Prisoner, is a 200-page pity party for conspiracy nuts ghostwritten by your ego. That 2020 truth truck stunt tearing around Melbourne demanding Dan Andrews' scalp, a clown show for clicks, not change. You're not fighting the system, you're gaming it, dragging out court cases for headlines and cash. Your righteous justice against Dan Andrews in 2025 is a pipe dream you'll abandon the second the donations dry up, leaving your donors broke and your law firm, your cousin's mate with a law degree, insert laughing here. That's got to be the worst part. Don't insert laughing here, man. There's no insert laugh, and you didn't even close your parentheses. Look, the rest of it really makes up for it. So, here's the ugly truth, Mon. You're a soulless opportunist who'd rather scam vulnerable Aussies than get a job. RDA is just your personal ATM, and this $50,000 Andrews grift is propped up by Topher's greasy cheerleading. And I must say, this is your vilest heist yet. You're a disgrace to Melbourne, and that's saying something. A mockery to actual activists and walking proof that shamelessness pays. Shove your truth truck up your exhaust pipe, delete your begging links, and crawl back to whatever hole you slid out of. Australia's had enough of your rancid con. Then it's hashtag Monica Leach, hashtag Grift Queen Exposed, and hashtag I do not care. I don't know what the last one is. I don't get it. I wish you didn't insert laughing, but otherwise that was pretty good.
It's pretty strong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty fucking strong. Yeah, it's a brutal take. Look, I love that Bender now follows up with this and did some legal footwork. Now, I haven't fact-checked any of this, but it sounds about right as far as I know, but I haven't checked anything. So, I don't know. I'm just regurgitating shit because I'm lazy. So, just look, the epitome of lazy podcasting is reading someone else's post. And you know what? Fuck it. Law school's hard at the moment. It's happening. So, Monica Smit, round 2. Victorian law makes a mockery of Smith's grandstanding. Private prosecutions allowed under Section 321 of the Crimes Act 1958, Victoria, require a prima facie case, actual evidence, not Smith's half-baked conspiracies. Her document 34 is likely inadmissible hearsay, useless under the Evidence Act 2008, Victoria. And her accusation of misconduct in public office demands proof that Andrews knowingly broke the law with malicious intent, referring to a case R.V. Quash, Quach, for those checking at home, 2010 in the Victorian Supreme Court. Lockdowns were upheld as legal in cases like Loyolo v. Giles, 2020, VSC, and backed by the Public Health and Wellbeing Act, 2008, in Victoria. And medical advice from the Chief Health Officer. Smith's claim that Andrews ignored science is a baseless rehash of debunked anti-lockdown tropes, not a legal argument. She's clueless about how the laws demand for hard evidence, and her case wouldn't survive a committal hearing, let alone reach trial. Fuck, I am killing this. Worse, Smith's legal ignorance is glaring when it comes to the Director of Public Prosecutions. Under Section 22 of the Public Prosecutions Act in 1994, Victoria, the DPP can swoop in and shut down a prosecution at any moment if it's frivolous or not in the public interest. Targeting a former premier with a politically charged stunt, that is a textbook case for DPP intervention. Smit either doesn't know this or doesn't care, banking on her supporters' ignorance to keep the donations flowing. Her claim that we are in charge is laughable. Courts, not her mob of donors, call the shots. She's already been burned by similar overreach. A 2021 bid to prosecute Andrews for treason was tossed out as nonsense, yet she keeps peddling the same tired playbook, hoping her fans won't notice her string of losses. Good Lord. Do you want to take it up from here?
Smith's con is as brazen as it is unethical. She's siphoning $52,000 a year from donations meant for justice without disclosing how the rest is spent or who's supposedly advising her. Her 2024 fundraising conviction shows she's allergic to transparency. Yet she's begging for more, promising refunds if costs are recovered. It's a hollow pledge given her case's zero chance of success.
Mm-hmm.
The Fundraising Act of 1998 demands accountability, but Smit treats it like a suggestion, just as she treats the law itself.
Mm-hmm.
Her European jaunt in 2023 and self-published book Self at 22, From Party Girl to Political Prisoner, suggests a comfy lifestyle, not the struggling activist she plays on Substack. Her 2017 Survivor audition, where she admitted craving attention, says it all. This is about fame, not truth.
That is the sentence that makes the fucking post.
Smit's legal misadventures are a masterclass in delusion. Her 2021 incitement charges dropped only after costly delays and conviction for breaching health orders. Public Health and Wellbeing Act 2008 shows she's no stranger to defying the law while crying foul. Judge Tran's 2024 jab at her, quote, propensity to strain the truth should be a warning to anyone tempted to fund her.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution will go the way of her other flops, straight in the bin, leaving her richer and her donors poorer. The Magistrates' Court won't indulge her theatrics, and the DPP's veto power enacts like a guillotine. Smit's not fighting for Victoria, she's fleecing it, preying on the naive with a case that's dead on arrival.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, Monica Smith is a legal nobody with a knack for grift. Her private prosecution is a scam wrapped in a cause, exploiting her supporters' anger while delivering nothing but hot air. Victorian law, with its rigorous standards and DPP safeguard, will swat this case away like the nuisance it is. Smith's refusal to learn from her failures or her willful ignorance of how the system worked just marks her as a con artist, not a hero. Her donors deserve better than to bankroll her ego. But as long as they keep paying, she'll keep them playing them for fools, laughing all the way to another European holiday, or perhaps it'll pay that $250K hanging over her head.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's well said, man. Like it is what it is. There's a lot in there that really sums this up, which is great. It means I don't have to write shit. It was a real freebie. What do we get, like 1,000 words for nothing? That was good. Thanks, man.
It was a long rant. I'd seen Bender before on Twitter, but on and off throughout the duration of the COVID era, but certainly nothing that long.
Usually people on the right aren't very smart, and usually the ones that are smart are there for a reason. So I'm sort of baffled by this one, because usually it's that thing of like smart people playing the game and sort of, playing a sort of like a right-wing thing. Otherwise, and I guess maybe this is the case here to a certain extent, a healthy distrust government and a sort of like a fiscally conservative outlook, which I can sort of understand mostly through sort of self-centered and shallow political ideology. But when it comes to the sort of general literary flair and attention to detail and ability to communicate a point coherently, especially something that long, I'm quite stunned to see that from a right-wing voice. They're usually the more Senator Babbitt, I'm going to say retard and piss off lefties.
Well,
Great.
Monica could be in Babbitt's seat, but not for saying no.
Fuck me. I love that. I was actually going to bring that up in this because I just find that so funny. Imagine she could have been a fucking lawyer. Not a lawyer, sorry. She could be a senator. She should be a lawyer. She should just go to fucking law school. Like, look, this is her hobby. Just go to fucking law school. Just like go and do whatever the bloody Queensland equivalent of the LPAB is and just fucking do it. You fucking coward. Anyway, that's what I'm fucking doing. And I'm not even this much of a fetishist for court cases. The best place to be is outside of a courtroom. The worst. Anyway. So look, this is the thing. Monica is right that nobody has successfully prosecuted Dan Andrews. But we can cast our minds back to late 2021 when a private prosecution was brought against a premier for treason, which I imagine you recall all too well.
This is the Myrtleford.
I think it might have been earlier than that. Maybe it was the Myrtleford court one. Like, because I remember being on the live stream and
I
because
reckon it was. Yeah.
no one could mute. Like, so they didn't
Yeah.
automatically mute, but people didn't know how to mute. People were happy not to be muting. They were like, oh, fucking da-da-da-da! Da-da-da-da! And it was just this like cacophony of noise, and the courtroom just couldn't proceed because they could not figure out how to mute the users. Everyone should have just been muted by default, but they just couldn't figure it out. And people were sharing their screens, which was insane. So it's like all these just like fucked up pictures were going on. It was a fucking circus.
It was everything you shouldn't do in a courtroom people were doing because they were online.
Yeah, exactly. It's that like road rage type thing. Like, I am about to fight every dickhead in a Ford Ranger until I realize that they have clearly got better core strength than me, and it's quite scary. So yeah, I mean, like, you know, it was just completely funny, but it was very funny. So like, news reported this, which was the massive number of people in the online hearing caused delays in the Premier's case and others due to be heard in the small local court. Quote, seriously, this is a joke. Some of us are here for legitimate court cases and are being held up by all of you and the palaver you are creating. Find another focus and move on, one woman said. I just love that bit at the end. I had to put it in there. Find another focus and move on. Man, if only she knew. They were never going to move on. They were never going to find a new focus. So basically what's happened here is that Monica has a timeline. So on the 24th of April, which is in history now, she is assembling a legal team. And on the 30th of April, she's having the first meeting with this potential legal team that may or may not exist. She's got an appointment, really. It's on the 30th with the lawyers that she hasn't chosen yet. Okay, cool. We're recording on the 1st of May. So far, no legal team and no news of an appointment, really. Well, there is, but it's very vague. And this is kind of going in the fact that there is no like legal basis for the prosecution, or at least not that we can see. So she did release a video to clarify why there's no legal team. And they're really hard to pick. Lawyers are hard to pick. There's lots of them. They're not all the same. And some of them are a bit greedy. We don't really know. I feel like that's a lot of projection. But like, she's saying this is going to take a few weeks. It'll take a few weeks to pick the lawyers. So what is that? Like 3-4 invoices of $1,000? I don't know. We'll see. It just looks like the trust account is just getting gently fingered there. But look, you know, it's all happening. And not only is it happening, but if you want a good value, they are not only planning to prosecute Dan Andrews, but also Jacinta Allen. And I don't know why, but I don't actually know why she's prosecuting Dan Andrews either. So I guess just chuck the Premier in there. Fuck it, why not? Let's just do this, right? I mean, you know, if there was some kind of like reason why you could prosecute either of these people or both, that'd be great. But I think that there should be in the Crimes Act just a vibe section where it's like, yeah, but like, nah. Yeah, but nah. And then like they go to jail forever. That would be a great court case. I think I would watch that on WebEx. So after deliberating for however long her bank account needs us to, if there end up being no prospect of success, as she said, she intends to refund the remaining balance. It is clear that this has no prospect of success. So I don't know what the game is here, but look, we do know that there are cooker lawyers who will give this a crack, no matter how stupid it is. Matuk hasn't been fucking struck off. And how much has he made? Buckley didn't get struck off for cooker shit. Buckley got struck off for threatening mums in a Facebook group who happened to all be barristers and judges. What a fucking idiot. Among other things, but basically telling him to suck on dildos or whatever he randomly came up with. So look, you know, when it comes down to it, we know how this is going to get thrown out because our cooker mate Bender explained it. I didn't have to even look it up. That's basically like, he said it. I'm going to trust it is right. So Monica also flexed she doesn't need the money because she's selling stuff like her book and merch, which I just don't think that she's making a lot of money from that. As she says, she lives very simply. But what she's actually being compensated for here is the stress this is going to cause her, which is hard to take very seriously because she fucking loves this shit. She lives for this. This is attention. This is what she wants. She also claimed quite reasonably that people should be paid for their time, and I agree with that. But the thing is that you're getting paid in clout. That's what you're chasing. And this entire thing is meritless, so it shouldn't exist. You could have easily put out the cast the net. There are Cooker lawyers who aren't complete fucking morons and said, is there any chance that I could stage a private prosecution of Dan Andrews? Any lawyers, please get in touch. And they would have DM'd her and said, there's no chance of success. Here is the reason why. I don't need to put much thought into this. This has absolutely no prospect of success. And then this whole thing wouldn't have happened. But then she wouldn't have become the fucking hero in her own lunchbox, and she wouldn't have had a chance to A, grift some money off the top, and B, the most important part, get back in the newspaper, get back on news.com.au. Maybe Frank Chung will make a puff piece on you. You're fucking great. So it's the fact that her reputation was getting basically dusty and that no one really cared about her is why this is fucking happening. And in this situation, there's a nameless lawyer who's charging her $550 an hour and she's seeing him for 2 hours. You don't need 2 hours to be told no. It's a phone call. It's a fucking text message. This is dumb. Stop. Text message. You could charge $100 for that. That's an expensive text. But she has had the meeting now. This has actually happened with a lawyer or team or a gaggle or fucking whatever. And it turns out, this is funny, she found a lawyer and she kept her schedule. She did that thing that RFK Jr. says. We're going to find out what makes autism in September, and that's when it's going to happen. So, you can't really put a deadline on. No, okay, yeah, you just work your way backwards from your conclusion. That'll be fine. So instead of posting today about the chance of success, the way the prosecution will work, maybe the charge they're going to put against him, possibly some of the evidence. No. She did say she wasn't going to tell any strategic stuff. She posted a picture of herself near a waterfall. And she had a caption saying, from polling booths to intense legal meetings, you've got to reset and reload to see the path clearly. This is your reminder to connect with nature soon. No, Monica, don't connect with nature. Tell the people who just put $100,000 into your bank account, not a trust account, your bank account, why they did that. Did they waste their money or not? You met with a lawyer. Go for it. Tell us what part of the Crimes Act. What does this contravene? What's the penalty? How is he going to go to jail as a result? Is there a fine? Is there jail time? What's the penalty? What's the maximum penalty? Whatever. I can't even begin. Just don't reconnect with nature. But the thing is, mate, it's only been 1 week. 1 week is one invoice, right? So you just got to keep people guessing. You go string them along and then put another invoice in, right? Another invoice in. How long do you think this is going to last for?
That invoice only came out in the last day or two, didn't it? Because
it's fresh.
I was looking and kept clicking on it, and it wasn't there. And then I saw it online yesterday or the day before. And
it's all trust-based. Like, this is all optics. Like you say, like the counter, like Dallas was saying on Twitter, it's just a manual number that she just feeds into the thing. So like, we take her word for it, but like, whether she's taken $1,000, whether she's taken in $120,000, we don't know. It could be double that. It could be half that. We don't know. But what we do know is that she is justifying taking money, and she's gone from our timeline is to have a course of action by today to being, it's actually going to take a few weeks. It's going to take a few weeks to get a team together. It's a lot of work. Give me some time. And it's like, as they say, time is money. It's not even that much money, as she says. But the situation is, when you're broke and you want not only to rinse the trust account, but you also want to rinse the clout, you're going to make this last as long as possible.
Yeah.
What's her next thing?
There's always something next.
There's got to be.
I mean, going back to what you said about her being funny, one thing I haven't found funny about her is seeing her in the malls doing her late-term abortion stuff.
Yeah,
that's
getting pregnant women to stand around with a placard saying, should they shove a coat hanger inside me and kill my child?
Yeah.
Paraphrasing, of course, but I mean...
You barely see any of that footage for how much there must be, so you wonder how many people told her where to go.
Oh, well, even the comment section, as far as I could see, it went really badly.
Yeah.
Like, because like that's one of the ones that didn't bother me so much insofar as it seems like it was an abject failure. And she's got some shit name for a little media company she does. And that was the thing, you know.
That's right.
The,
Streets. What is it? Street.
yeah, Street some shit.
Hits
Hit
or
Street or some
Hit
shit.
Street,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ugh, just fuck off.
Looks like I might have been wrong about the Myrtleford case. That was one.
That was a different
brought-
one?
It was Dan Andrews for treason, but it was brought by Anthony Herman.
No, that is this one.
It is.
Yeah, this is the Anthony Herman one. Yeah, yeah.
Same one. Oh, yeah, that's the one. That was an absolute hoot when it
Yeah, it was good
happened.
fun. Yeah, it was real dumb. Yeah, I don't regret a second. Yeah, that was a fun time. And the great thing was you could tune into the thing because you had nothing else to do. Like I was told not to work and they paid me to stay home. So that was nice. I mean, I know it wasn't that great for everyone during the pandemic and a lot of people suffered, but fuck, man, if you're in the right place at the right time with the right situation, they paid you to stay home. And, you know, I just got heaps of law study done. It was blissful. Anyway, so yeah, look, when it comes down to this one here, the fact that she's turned around and said, oh, it's going to take a few weeks to assemble a legal team, like I said, was going to take a week. That's a little bit sus when you're taking $1,000 out. I don't think it's the end of the world. If I was running a case, I'd want $1,000 a week, even just for disbursements and stuff. I mean, like it's the least you can do. It totally makes sense. The issue is that if I was running a case, it would have merit. And if it didn't have merit, I wouldn't do it because that's insane and that's suspicious. So yeah, no, not accepting it. I definitely do think people's time is worth money, but if your level of competence is, I'm just going to do shit and think later, then maybe you're not the person for the job that you thought you were with all your dot points about how amazing you are. Maybe they don't translate to real world competence because you're doing something pointless with other people's money and somehow trying to claim that's virtuous. Just don't buy it. It's just
You're not
bad.
seeing too many other freedom fighters sharing it
Oh,
in
really?
the way you used to.
Whee. Yeah, there used to be a big share button, and I was definitely thinking that this was going to be like a sort of very quick and painful experience for Monica, and we still don't know whether the $100,000 is legit, and we still don't know whether the $100,000 is legit. We just don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know. But, like, I do see, like, on Telegram, just did, like, a quick search now. And, yeah, you know, there's a few people posting. You know, she's got a few, not a lot, but a few. But there's not a lot of reactions, really. Yeah, Topher Field. Yeah.
It's so nauseating.
Yeah, it's gross. It's pretty gross. And yeah, Dave O'Neig's shared, but not the donation link. It's the Topher Field YouTube clip. It's all very grim and weird. Speaking of grim and weird, let's move on to your mate from your neck of the woods.
Oh, I went back to the Cali.
Hey, with the big old red flag on the roof.
Yeah, it's been quiet. I mean, he posts incessantly still, but there was not really a freedom event of any note there last year.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
And it was almost like it's just reverting back to, you know, bingo and state of origin night and the meat tray. But Pauline came down.
Oh,
Apparently she's
Pauline.
invested some land in the Hunter. And she came down to support Stuart Bonds, who we were talking about before.
Yep.
And with it was meant to be a $20 lunch at the Cali with Pauline and Stewie thrown in. But the lunch never came.
Oh, brutal.
So no one was charged $20 either. So no grift there.
Oh, that's good.
But, yeah, for those who were expecting to eat, it was disappointing.
Just kitchen closed.
Yeah, there was something about they thought that the $20 included lunch, but it didn't.
No, it was a donation by the
It
looks
was
of
meant
things.
to be a donation, so they just canned the $20 and canned the lunch. It wasn't packed. There were, for a place that's supposedly right at the forefront of One Nation believing they can take a seat in the lower house, there would have been 45 people in the beer garden. Most of them just the regular, either cooked or, grumpy One Nation crew, pensioners. Chris Covery's filming.
Of course. He's getting paid by someone by the looks of things.
Yeah, I guess that would have been a paid gig because it didn't appear on any socials. It probably making up ads that I haven't seen.
He did a ruction and got himself a little job.
Yeah, he had one of
Nice.
his little because he said he was training.
Yeah, little underlings.
Little underlings. He had one of them there who was lugging all the gear.
Oh, God. He used to be very funny lugging all his gear because he had like 9 things that he didn't really need. And I do have respect for his gear. Like, he does have good shit, which is better than most. But he used to, he'd sort of like be like half robot. And it was a bit unnecessary. Yeah, impressive, but overkill. And now he's got some poor underling to do it, which I find, I don't know. I don't like the idea of Chris Covery's moving up in the world. That's it's not how I like to see the world. He's really not a good person.
No, so yeah, him and James Ashby floating around taking photos.
Creepy. I remember back to Slipper and everything. Ugh.
Yeah,
that was that Ashby character. Oh, and the NRA too. Oh, how is he still a thing? That guy is bulletproof.
He's the campaign manager now. So
Amazing. You would think that all the shit from getting like honeypotted in the NRA interview and all that shit with Slipper, you'd think that he'd more or less be off, but no.
I think it's impossible to be off with One Nation.
Yeah.
There's been a story in The Guardian today about Stuart Bonds with, all the normal stuff going back to 2019 when he said, what did he say? The only thing worse than
a gay with power is a woman, I believe
is
it
a
was.
woman with power, yeah.
Yeah, good.
And that was, from memory, that was a car rant where he said that.
Yeah, apparently the video wasn't played in full. So,
yeah, I seem to remember it. I think his wife was in the car laughing. So, in a sense, yeah, she's a Finnish originally and had a bit of a celebrity status as a tattoo artist there, and she writes a bit of a column and a blog back to Finland where she talks about herself being trans because she was a bit of a tomboy, but that's all it was. All trans people are tomboys. And
I had the same shtick from a cooker tomboy lesbian who did the whole, what if I transition? It's like, well, you fucking didn't. And like, you didn't transition because you're not trans. And the idea that you would suddenly have done that because Twitter told you to is because you've got a weak brain.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not sure if that's something I should worry about. Like, lots of people do dumb shit because they're stupid. And if you're stupid and you do dumb shit, fine. But I don't think that's society's problem, and you shouldn't stop other people who are intelligent from making calculated, smart decisions because you're too much of a fucking sponge brain to control your own life. It's not my fucking problem. Don't inflict your shit on others. So and they're all fucking libertarians, and they're all spouting this nonsense. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, so together,
ideology.
Together, Stewie and Sini have, pretty good form in pushing very far right ideas in either country. When they went back to Finland on holiday a couple of years ago, and there was a double page feature in the Helsinki tabloid saying that they were back in love after a rough patch.
Oh, God. Fucking hell.
Yeah. But yeah, he was in The Guardian today for a bit more sort of cookerish stuff, like calling, the vaccine a massive experiment to sell pharmaceutical products, and called public health officials little Hitlers in a Twitter space somewhere in the last week or two. But
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is just stuff that they wear as a badge of honour.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. I think he made reference to a hit piece coming out on him yesterday, and this was it. But the sort of people who are going to vote that way aren't going to care about that sort of stuff. Sort of more interesting to me about him is he at one point posted saying he was so disgusted by the woke trans agenda in his daughter's school that he was going to attempt homeschooling her. And then we heard nothing more about that. But the homeschooling or just schooling and Stuart don't really fit together that well. And there was a moment back in the maybe 21, 22 when I think the Newcastle rallies were under Australians versus the Agenda. That group.
Yeah, okay. Fucking Anthony Kaloof.
Yeah. He broke down crying at one point, videoing the sea of red ensigns, and
Oh, God.
John Farnham started playing in the background.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and he described the red ensign as Australia's real flag. That would have been perhaps a more interesting conversation in The Guardian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, it's hard to get. It's also very frustrating when people like you or the TT girls will send journos very hot shit and they just won't use it. And it's like, come on, guys. Like the Mark Mack situation in Indi, where he is straight up an elder abuser. It's been put in court. His line is that this is in the Tinfoil Tales episode as well. I don't want to tread in their territory too much because they uncovered this and rightly so. But the idea that this guy who was living with his mum and mooching off her was somehow taking care of her, and he's the victim because she was so crazy because she caught bipolar, which is something in the Tinfoil Tales. I shouldn't give away too much. But like, that's so fucking awful. But these people are fucking bulletproof. It doesn't even touch the sides. This guy's a fucking elder abuser, and the only person who gives a shit is fucking Beck Freedom, who's now a bit of a neo-Nazi. So like what do you do? Like, you can't do anything with these fucking people. Like, if you can sit there and say, "Oh, I'm actually the victim because I was taking care of my mother. Yeah, I stole her house from her, but don't worry about that." No, she gave it to me because she loves me. And she gave it to you because you were threatening her. You piece of shit. It's in a fucking judgment. And then you wouldn't even cough up the money to keep her in residential care, which is what got you undone anyway. That's how the public trustee was like, hold on, you can't afford what happened? Oh, I gave my son my house. Okay, that's why you can't afford your aged care. And then court. Oh, man. Just cookie candidates and just the whole entire subculture is just an exhausting bunch of narcissists and cunts. We'll get to Billy Bay, but that's what, like, Billy Bay and Grift is where my narcissism radar just starts blipping to the point where it sounds like a fucking techno track.
I mean, Bonds up here his name comes from being a coal miner and speaking for workers who are uncertain about their economic future, and a valley that's uncertain about its economic future. But even there, he's just so behind the conversation, and there's no genuine desire to engage. It's just lowbrow trolling, really. It was funny this week. Someone was ripping apart his trailer of signs that was parked somewhere on the side of the road with The trailer was unregistered. It was your classic, everyone checks the rego of a cooker car and sure enough.
Yeah, I always do. I always check it. Because you can now. You chuck it into Service New South Wales and it comes up.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure
it's
if
pretty
Stewie's
crazy.
got a soft-set thing or it's just...
Maybe just doesn't like paying his bills.
doesn't like paying his bills.
Yeah, that's usually the fucking Venn diagram on that.
But yeah, it was the second time I'd been to a gig at the Cali. Both times they've mentioned the Aboriginal industry.
I like that. That's a Bosie classic, that one, isn't
It
it?
was the Bosie classic. Yeah, he was the first one, and of course Pauline this time. She
Great
starts off with taxes and economics, and then a bit like Bosie builds up to the greatest hits later on.
Yeah.
Also noticed she's you know how she mumbles in those short pieces to camera and ads she does? She actually
Yeah, okay.
the longer she goes, the less she mumbles.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
and
I don't tend to watch much of her.
No, I've certainly never watched her speak for that long, and it was quite
Yeah.
interesting. By the end, she was it did work
Just
to
bumbling.
yeah, the extent
Yeah.
that the crowd sort of got right into it.
Interesting.
What was the other? Oh, you can buy the corruption whistleblower by credit card over the bar at the Cali,
Oh,
which
that's
just
nice.
defies everything they stand for.
Can't you pay in cash?
I ran out of cash. I did bring cash, but
The beers were too delicious.
the beers were it was the Eureka beer.
Oh, you had the FJB.
No, well,
Which-
I'm not sure if it's the FGJB rebranded because I looked for that.
Well, no,
but
I don't think that exists anymore. And one of the
Yeah,
things I believe, and this was one of those things, I think I took a screenshot ages ago, and I'm so wary because this is one of those things that's like so ripe for defo. Because I swear I took the fucking screenshot, but I couldn't find it again. But a brewery in my neck of the woods, down toward Botany, I think, or Alexandria, Frenchies, which is a French brewery, but they've got a French bulldog as their thing. But they do like saisons and shit as well. And they made the FJB beer, and I think I even sent them a message and just said, "Hey guys, are you making the FJB beer for the Cali? Is this your thing? Are you sure
and
of
it
this?"
was.
Yeah, it's like it's a pretty bad thing to be doing, especially when you're in this like lefty enclave of the city of Sydney, mate. Like, are you sure you want to do this in the city of Heffron? Because that ain't going to go well for you. No one here thinks FJB for the Cali is a brand building exercise. So I would imagine these guys probably looked at the situation and went, I like doing contract beer, but I don't think this is a smart idea. And the Eureka thing is probably just some other rebadged lager from a local brewery, I imagine.
Yeah.
Why are they getting it from fucking Alexandria anyway? Like, buy local, you creeps.
That was wasn't it? Was that what's his name? The cop,
The cop.
the ex-cop, Cops for Freedom, or
Not like, because you're saying he's not.
no,
Crystal.
I'm just forgetting his name. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I saw him with you at that No Rally, right?
yeah, we all know his
Yeah.
name, and we're not remembering it.
No, we're not remembering it. Probably for the best, really. He was there with Bosie with his fucking arms crossed. I wouldn't want to be trapped in a room with him with a phone book at a, lack
No, he
of
got very
CCTV.
excited. Is it Rob?
No, I don't remember.
No, but he did the ad for it and seemed to have something to do with I don't know how Frenchies and the Cali came across each other, but
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, that's right. There was a big video that they did with
Yeah,
the
it was
whole
a
like,
7.
haha, FJB. What does that stand for? LOL, LOL. Yeah, so shit.
had a Dan Andrews character and
Yeah.
it was a cast of thousands, and
It was just before AI could pull this shit off with a prompt as well. So, like, they had to go through all the motions when, if they did it a year or two later, they would have now just type in, make a funny video with, like, Dan Andrews and shit. And then it would have just popped out as a fucking MP4.
Yeah, it was quite cringe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Kelly still exists, which is nice. I've been looking through their Instagram and Facebook, and to be honest, it just looks like nice people having beers and quite nice looking food. So I'd be pretty pissed off that my, $20, which is, let's face it, not how much a plate of food really actually costs, wouldn't have got me one of these delicious beef ribs or any of the other things that have come out. I mean, outside of the utterly shit beer selection, where Bolter XPA is their craft beer, it seems like a nice place.
Yeah,
But the
it's
beer
got a,
selection is fucked. It's just complete Lion Nathan trash.
and the beer garden's quite pleasant. The funniest thing was
Those-
for all his coal mining clout,
so
there were no coal miners out the back, and about 20 in the front bar just eating lunch.
Yeah.
Not listening or even aware that Pauline and this guy were out the back.
It's probably worth keeping a secret, really. It's not a fucking reputation building thing. And I think maybe they've realized that. Like, I believe a long time ago at the Caledonian Hotel, there was a real rift between the sort of the son who's the cooker and the rest of the family who were like, I don't think you should make this cooker pub. And he's like, yes, I should. I'm saving the world. And as the coal miners are still turning up. So I guess what I would say is delicious looking schnitzels and parmesanas and other assorted fried foods are luring them in, because fuck, it does look pretty good. Like, it's not bad. The musman curry with the lamb shanks, I mean, they're doing some good work. I mean, fuck their politics, but they're doing some good work.
Yeah, I certainly think the lack of events is probably sort of bringing them back to the business of running a pub, which isn't easy at the best of times. But
Yeah.
they've still got the flag on the roof.
Yeah, bless. That's nice. It's good to see. Good to see. They've still got their true colours shining through. So what else are you up to? What else is going on the Hustons?
That, and I ended up at the candidates forum at Port Stephens for the seat of Patterson.
Oh, yeah?
But I was quite interested in the Port Stephens one because that's where the most feral of the anti-wind turbine mob are. So,
Okay.
and ABC had obviously thought that was interesting too because they were there filming for the news. I didn't see the story. But watched, it was Labor had stacked the room with some of their supporters and the Libs with theirs. And then there was a bunch of very thick-necked anti-wind turbine fisho guys. But again, for all the hype around their campaign and what you would have thought would have attracted numbers to go and yell at Meryl Swanson.
Yeah.
There were 5 of them, probably putting up a big show.
5's okay. It's a handful, I guess.
Yeah, it was enough to make the place very loud. But
And
Meryl
unpleasant, I'm
Swanson
sure.
was very well prepared for that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's a bit of a gang against her anyway. There, in that you've got the Libs, who are it's a very marginal seat. It's predicted to be close.
Okay.
And you've got Lawrence Ancliffe running for the Libs, but then you've got Independent, who's completely aligned with him, and One Nation, Trumpet, and Family First. So. I think Meryl Swanson knew exactly what she was going to. And of course, during the mayoral campaign there, the most feral of the anti-wind turbine mobs started riding their boats up and down beside the Labor Party
that's
boat.
right.
And
being incredibly fucking dangerous.
being incredibly stupid and annoying and yeah, maybe it was dangerous, maybe it wasn't. It depends who you believe. But
Yeah,
that would have been intimidating, I'm sure.
at least. And yeah, I can't remember there was a reason why it was more aggravating as well. Something about their presence made it more intimidating, but I can't remember what it was.
It's an old boat. It's an old paddle steamer that used to go up and down Lake Macquarie. That's moved up there, but they had a launch on that, and they made it pretty rough.
Yeah, dickheads came to basically sabotage it. Well,
Yeah.
Patterson's at $1.66, but the Coalition are at $2.37.
That's right. Yeah,
But
it's
YouGov,
better than it was for Labor. It started.
Well, YouGov has 51.8% compared to, of course, Coalition 48.2 on a two-party preferred basis. So that's pretty good. I mean, that's a decent, and that's considering a 1.5% swing to the Coalition. So,
Yeah, and I mean the issues on the coast there aren't just the wind turbines, but it's ironic that I think back in 2007 was when the Libs were starting this push for nuclear power. They proposed a power plant at Port Stephens, so it's it's kind of funny these guys have to scream at the renewable thing, but either suck up the fact that their bay is a potential site, or somewhere not too far inland.
Yeah.
So there were as many questions about that as the actual wind zone, and then there were just bizarre things like the Trumpet of Patriots guy Peter Arena saying that it would be impossible to detect a Chinese missile flying between wind turbines coming at Williamtown RAAF Air Base.
Well, like interrupts radar or some shit.
Yeah.
Something like, oh my God.
So that sort of just shut down the room, and everyone just sort of stared at him.
In slight disbelief?
For a minute, bonding.
Amazing.
That, we weren't as cooked as him. He also, he picked out some guy in the audience and he said, "I had a fight with you in a car park."
What?
And it was, apparently, he said, "You accused my wife of throwing garbage out the window," and that stopped the room as well. They were all sort of.
Well, maybe she did throw garbage out the window.
Maybe she did,
and that's not a good thing to do. Like, no one likes a litter bug. Fuck me.
So that was Port Stephens.
That sounds utterly cooked.
It was, yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
that sounds really fucking cooked. Ah, dear. Well,
but it was quite a scene. The fishing club with all the wall of trophies and the huge set of shark jaws behind the candidates.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It would definitely be interesting, but interesting in a way that's probably slightly sobering and potentially depressing. So, there is that. So I guess we should probably move on to other electoral issues, which is the sort of final moment, well, most recent moment of the Billy Bay and GAP feud, where the victorious Dr. William Bay has basically told people not to vote for the party he was running for, which has made Rod Cullerton sort of make a double take, but taking it seriously and responding to it in a way that is vaguely adult has been quite bizarre. And he's there basically saying, hey, if you run for our party and then you tell people not to vote for us, it's kind of insane. But the best part is that, of course, attempting to get the primary vote, because it's the only thing that really matters when you're in a minor situation and you're hoping for the best. The second preference isn't really going to mean too much, I suppose. Well, the first preference doesn't mean anything anyway. You're never getting up. So what's the point? But Billy Bay did send a letter to Rod Cullerton, which I'm going to say is actually pretty funny. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I won't do him the dignity. But I must say, as far as bits of sort of cooker writing, this could come from someone who's sort of more anti-cooker as much as anything else. One of the great things in the letterhead he includes in his thing, the Office of Vexatious Litigants and Spiritual Audits, somewhere on sovereign soil, unbought and unbothered. What does that even mean, Billy? But that's the great thing. Like, it's just pseudo legal gibberish, but it's very intentional. And the letter is addressed to Rodney Cullerton, alleged steward of the Great Australian Party, re formal and non-negotiable demand for apology, foot kissing, and $8 trillion AUD adjusted for principle. And it's great. So he just goes on to do a whole bunch of like, you know, sort of general sort of sob sit shit. And like, it's pretty funny. Like, it's worth looking up and having a read of it. But generally speaking, what happened was, and I don't want to give too much away because TT did cover this in their episode. This is just the final sort of straw of it. He didn't get paid for a bunch of stuff that he spent money on, apparently. And the Tinfoil Tales episode will fill you in all of that. But this is basically just the way he's responded. And he's responded in a way that is immature, but very, very funny. And it's full of sob-sit language, and it's quite good. I quite like it. It's very fun. I put it through AI detector, and apparently this is human. So either him or someone else wrote it, but it's not just a ChatGPT thing, unless of course he took ChatGPT and just edited it. But I don't think so. I don't think so. But like this one, I really like this one. You have exactly 2 business days to respond to this letter with full compliance, or I shall be forced to initiate the following escalating measures. Filing a 742-page grievance with the Australian Electoral Commission or the nearest local librarian, public denunciation via livestream wearing only truth in a lab coat, invocation of the ancient right of unforgiveness, clause 12, footnote 7 in the scrolls of petty political legend, and seizing of metaphysical assets, including your karma balance and good standing at the barbecue. I mean, that's good. That's good. I'm going to pay that. I mean, I can't be upset.
And he did all this on a Gap letterhead, even though he was no longer Gap.
Oh yeah, no, like the great thing with the TT episode, they have a lot of Rod Cullerton talking about things and throwing around sort of like, you know, shit about Billy Bay alleging defamation, blah blah. It's all quite adorable. He wasn't even a part of the party anymore. Like, fucking whatever. So I just thought it was very funny. I think it's worth looking up. It's on the shitposting group. If you're not part of it, join up. And yeah, enjoy what is probably Billy Bay's only, but also his finest work. I am begrudgingly impressed by that piece of writing. I liked it. So moving on to other things that are federal, I just want to say right now, fuck Amelia Hamer. If you don't know who she is the Liberal candidate in Kooyong, the seat that's most famous for the Teal candidate, well, Teal MP, Monic Ryan, or I mean, Dr. Monic Ryan, I believe. So she first did that fake renter thing where it's like, oh, I'm a renter. I look at my like unit and like I can't imagine a child. She owns 2 properties, one in London, which is great. So she's an international landlord, but also she is a beneficiary to a trust. I think the trust has 5 beneficiaries and approximately $20 million in it. I'm not sure. Anyway, look, mathematics is not my strong suit, and I'm not an accountant. But I would just say that anything more than a couple of grand is, well, anything more than anything is more than I've inherited. So all power to you, Hamer. But if anyone actually wants to look this up and see what these fucking clowns did in their electorate, basically they put these solid A-frames, not core flutes, solid A-frames with Hamer's dumb face and these, Monique, please don't take the sign. It's this thing where Monique Ryan's husband nicked a few Liberal core flutes, and I don't know why, I don't really care. But they were all across the road, like a wall, so you couldn't cross the road. As a pedestrian, I would have crossed the road and I would have kicked the fucking things out of the way. But basically, they were obstructing pathways. They were obstructing thoroughfares. The council said, okay, look, you guys calm the fuck down. I know things are hectic. You have a 1-sign limit. Just chill the fuck out. 1 sign's enough. Spamming the sidewalk with signs is obnoxious. And other candidates actually abided by it. Monique Ryan had 1 little A-frame in this sea of this Nepo baby's idiot face everywhere. And they went, you know what? No, we can't have this. They took it to court. But this is from the ABC to describe the situation. Do you want to read this?
The council said signs presented a risk to pedestrians and road users, and that had given each Kooyong candidate a permit to display only 1 A-frame sign following multiple community complaints about a crowded footpath. Council's focus is ensuring public safety, clear pedestrian access and amenity, the spokesperson said. We hope candidates understood this focus and comply with these requirements.
Yeah. Well, no, they went to court instead. So fucking embarrassing. And like the court basically ruled that under freedom of political, the implied freedom of political communication in the Constitution enables them to, facilitate democracy by having her face all over the fucking place. But they did not discount safety, and that the council can enforce that based on their rules. Very, very opaque. When it comes to what's going to happen, is you're going to have a bunch of people in blue shirts with a bunch of A-frames blocking the path saying, the Supreme Court said we could fucking do it. Supreme Court said we could do it. And I'll call the fucking police. Like, that's what's going to happen. What do you expect? I think the Supreme Court were incredibly irresponsible in their judgment, and this should have been delivered differently. Even James Patterson was saying, oh, look, we won. We won in Kooyong. Well, you're not going to win in Kooyong. You're not going to win the seat. Because not only this, but locals are going to see this and they're going to get pissed off. Like, as if in a small community with this kind of behaviour, you're going to go, oh, maybe I should vote Liberal. Like, if I was a Liberal voter, I would just tear up my ballot. If they're going to behave like this, I would sit this election out.
It's the sort of place they'll remember her name next time too.
Apparently she's Liberal Party royalty, but I don't know how her reputation exists at this point. Like, it's just embarrassing. She's the fake renter with all the money who has taken her obnoxious campaigning to the Supreme Court to make sure that she's legally able to be a public pest. Who does that? Insane. So there's that. But just to give a bit of a rundown on the stats, Sportsbet has Labor now, and I say now as in a couple of hours ago, it's probably gone down to 104, 105, $5, Coalition $9.50. YouGov has Labor at 53, Coalition at 47, approximately. A couple of points there. They're projecting Labor will get 84 seats, which, in a 75-seat majority, like, okay, it's not. No, it is. Because the Greens will have 3, Indies will have 14, others will have 2. The Coalition will have 47 out of that. Getting majority in the new Teal era is actually a big fucking deal. And just to really put a cherry on this cake, it's been a beautiful thing. This election is going to get called by about 7 p.m, which is a real shame because Annie Greens last night, you want it to be a bit of a contest, but hey, what can you do? Dutton is going to either win or lose his seat by the cock of a mosquito. I'm sure there will be 4,000 recounts, but YouGov has it as 50.2 over Labor 49.8 two-party preferred. And Sportsbet still have him flagged as favourite by quite some way. It's $3.35 for Labor. I would put money on that if I was allowed to. I've been oppressed by my constituents. My friends bailed me out partially of my bet. And in doing that, I was banned from political gambling. I would have made so much money from this election. I would be bleeding 50s. But never mind. If I put money on this, we all know that Dutton will be Prime Minister for fucking 12 years. So let's not do the old Joel curse and put money on anything at this point. But things are looking good. If you're a Labor supporter, great. If you think Labor suck ass, I'm sure you don't think the Liberals are any better. Either way, things are going reasonably well. I would have liked a minority government. I would have liked to see more minor party representation in a balance of power. But you know what? Fuck it. The Liberals were at strong favourites about 6 weeks ago. Oh, what difference a month makes. Fucking useless cunts. You got anything to add to that?
No.
All right, well, let's call it.
Nothing. We've gone for a while.
Yeah, well, look, it's been good to catch up on the general cooker layout, and these are things that you will not get anywhere else because no one else really went, except for actual cookers who probably won't give you the same takes. So, Dave, you are invaluable. Please maintain your cover because it's terribly dangerous. Going to these things in person is nerve-wracking. I know that. And when I've been there, we've been there together, and that's been interesting. And you are always outnumbered. And that's just, you're a braver man than I am. But so thanks for coming on, Dave. Really appreciate your work.
No worries.
Well, join the Patreon and all that sort of crap. I'm not going to plug things. I'm going to leave it there. And everyone take care. Thank you very much. Enjoy the election. See ya.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards.